While the kings of Europe fight over thrones and crowns, in a forgotten corner of the Balkan Peninsula, a tiny nation continues to struggle, simply to exist. This is Albania, a land of mountains, forests, and stone, where every village has already tasted the fire of war. For years, Christendom has been pushed back by the power of the Ottoman Empire. From Constantinople to Bosnia, the Sultan's green banners advance like an endless wave. In 1453, Mehmed II, the young ruler known as the Conqueror, captures Constantinople, the beating heart of the Byzantine Empire. All of Europe trembles, but north of the fallen city, there remains a land that refuses to bow. The Albañia of Kastrioti Skanderbeg, a former Ottoman general turned rebel. Once, Skanderbeg had been one of their own. As a child, he was taken hostage and sent to the Sultan's court in Edirne. There he learned the Turkish language, the art of war, and discipline. The Ottomans called him Iskender Bey, Lord Alexander, a name comparing him to Alexander the Great. Under the crescent, he commanded troops until the day when, disgusted by bloodshed and servitude, he deserted, returned to Albania, seized the citadel of Kruja, and swore to fight only under the black eagle of his people. From that day on, he never stopped resisting. 20 years of battles, faith, and betrayal. But the country is wearing down. Harvests are lost, allies drift away, and the enemy grows stronger. Then in 1455, at the fortress of Berat, disaster strikes. The Ottoman army, led by Pasha Firuz, lures Skanderbeg into a trap. Overconfident, he advances too far. In a single day, his army is surrounded and crushed. The survivors flee into the mountains. Hope fades, and in the taverns of the Balkans, people whisper, "Skanderbeg is finished." But the deepest wound does not come from enemy blades. It comes from blood, from his own family. Hamza Kastrioti, his nephew, the boy he raised like a son, betrays him. Young, brilliant, hungry for glory, Hamza listens to the envoys of Sultan Mehmed II, men who know exactly how to tempt an ambitious heart. In exchange for golden titles, Hamza swears loyalty to the Crescent. The Sultan gives him a mission: return to Albania, extinguish the flame of rebellion, and bring me your uncle's head. These words mark the beginning of the 1457 campaign. In the palace of Topkapi, orders are issued. Generals are summoned, maps are unfurled. From Macedonia to Ohrid, forges blaze and hammers sing through the night. Horses are saddled, cannons oiled, arrows counted. Everything must be ready for what the Sultan calls the final hunt. This time, it is no longer about punishment, it is about erasure. To wipe out Albanian resistance once and for all, with a single blow. Swift, merciless, irreversible. Across the Balkans, rumors spread. They say 40,000 men will march north, led by Hamza Kastrioti himself. This is not an army, it is a message, a threat to anyone who dares raise their eyes against the empire. On mist-covered roads, the sound of drums mixes with the grinding of iron and wood. Columns stretch as far as the eye can see. Supply carts, artillery, cavalry, janissaries. Around their campfires, officers laugh with confidence. To them, this campaign is nothing but a formality, the final spear thrust into a dying beast. Meanwhile, in his marble palace, the Sultan stands on the balcony of Topkapi, gazing at the horizon. Far away, the Albanian mountains fade into the mist. His voice, low and calm, falls like a verdict. When the last eagle dies, the Adriatic will be mine. And so, in the heart of spring, the war drums thunder. The army assembles. Under the gray sky, the banners of the crescent rise. The sound of hooves drowns out the prayers of the plains. And somewhere in the north, a cold wind rises. The wind of war. After the defeat at Berat, Albania seems to have fallen asleep. The church bells no longer ring, the fields lie empty, the roads are deserted. In the mountains of Mat, behind the walls of a hidden fortress, Skanderbeg lives surrounded by silence. Once, they called him the Lion of the Balkans. Now he is only a weary man, sitting before the fire, his eyes lost in the flames. But in that silence, he thinks, he watches, he waits. 2 years have passed since the disaster. The villages rise slowly from the ruins. Harvests are thin, alliances with Venice and Naples have collapsed. Albania stands alone. Then one morning, a rumor crosses the mountains. Sultan Mehmed II is preparing a new campaign. They say 40,000 soldiers are already marching from Macedonia, led by Hamza Kastrioti, the nephew of the hero, the one who betrayed his own blood. When the news reaches the fortress of Kastrioti, Skanderbeg says nothing. He steps out slowly onto the terrace, looks at the clouds gathering above the peaks, and understands that war has returned. But this time, he will not run from it. He summons his captains. He does not promise them victory, only dignity. All of them know their strength is small, barely 8,000 men, half of them farmers and shepherds. But they also know that these mountains have always protected those who respect them. For days he rides through the valleys. He knows every stone, every pass, every stream. Between two wooded ridges, he finds a narrow enclosed place, thick with trees, Albañia, a deep gorge where armies cannot spread their lines. The perfect place to trap a larger force. There, he decides to strike. Orders are sent at once. Messengers gallop from village to village. The bells ring 3 times in every valley. The call to arms. Farmers hide their families in the forests. Every man who can lift a spear climbs into the hills. The blacksmiths reopen their forges. Monks carry relics and bless the weapons. The mountain itself awakens. The preparations begin. Paths are rigged with pits covered in branches. Tree trunks are set on the slopes, ready to roll. Archers pick the best vantage points in the woods. Scouts watch the roads from Ohrid. No one speaks loudly. Even the horses are kept in darkness so they won't neigh. Supplies are hidden in caves. Women prepare hard bread, salt, and thick wine. Every village sends what it can: arrows, iron, leather, and courage. In the damp evenings, the wind comes down from the mountains, carrying the smell of fire and steel. The soldiers pray in silence. The elders sharpen their old blades. Skanderbeg keeps watch. His armor is worn, but his eyes are clear. He walks among his men, places a hand on their shoulders, and says only, "Stay hidden. The moment will come." Days pass. The fog settles in. Heavy, white, almost alive. The sentries can barely see a few steps ahead. In the distance, from the valley below, a rumble begins to rise. The ground trembles. It is the sound of an army on the march. The Sultan's army. Thousands of hooves pound the earth. Green banners rise through the dust. Drums echo. Slow, deep, like the heartbeat of a monster. And at the front, riding a black horse, Hamza Kastrioti advances, his gaze fixed on the mountains of his childhood. He does not know that behind those trees, the trap is already set, that above him, hidden in the shadow of the pines, 8,000 men wait motionless, like the mountain itself. The wind stops. The plain freezes. Silence returns, dense, almost sacred. And in that silence, Skanderbeg closes his eyes. He knows the hour is near. On the morning of September 2nd, 1457, the sun rises over the northern mountains of Albania. The valley of Albañia is still covered in mist. Only the river, a few rocks, and the dark silhouettes of the pine trees can be seen. In the distance, a deep rumble rises, like distant thunder. It is the Sultan's army. For 3 weeks, it has crossed Macedonia and the Balkan passes. They say it numbers nearly 40,000 men. Janissaries, archers, cavalry, cannons. A vast war machine, confident, relentless, never truly stopped. At the front, riding a black horse, advances Hamza Kastrioti. His armor glimmers in the morning light. He looks at the Albanian mountains without fear. He believes that today will be the day Skanderbeg's name disappears forever. The officers chat and laugh. Some swear they will bring the rebel alive to Constantinople. Others promise to burn every village he has left. In their eyes, this battle is nothing more than a formality. When they reach the entrance of the valley of Albañia, the path is clear. Not a soul, not a fire, not a sound. The scouts return and confirm. There is no enemy in sight. The nearby villages appear abandoned. The fields are empty. Hamza smiles. To him, this is proof that Skanderbeg has fled. He orders the army to advance. The Janissaries enter the gorge first. Behind them, the Syrian archers. Then the Anatolian cavalry and the cannon wagons, dragged by exhausted oxen. The valley closes around them. The cliffs grow higher, closer. The light dims. The echoes of the drums bounce off the stone. At first, the soldiers continue to joke, but slowly, something troubles them. They no longer hear any birds. Even the wind seems to have stopped. All that remains is the breathing of horses and the clatter of armor. Hamza looks upward. The pines stand motionless. The rocks look too sharp, too still, as if they are waiting. A doubt crosses his mind, but the column is already deep in the gorge. Turning back would be nearly impossible. Hours pass. The army now stretches along the entire valley. The front cannot see the rear. The officers struggle to pass orders down the line. That is when everything begins. A roar explodes behind them. The road they came through turns into a wall of wood and stone. Huge trees felled during the night crash down across the path. Boulders roll from the slopes and pile up in the passage. The last riders are crushed, the wagons overturned. The retreat is cut off. A very brief silence follows, just long enough for fear to enter their hearts. Then the entire mountain begins to speak. From the high ridges, a storm of rocks rains down on the front lines. Horses rear, men fall, formations shatter. Before the dust even settles, a whistle slices through the air. Then another, then 1,000 more. Albanian arrows fall in black clouds. They strike helmets, shoulders, hands, throats. Shields tremble under the rain of iron. Soldiers huddle together, but they cannot tell where death is coming from. Hamza shouts orders. He tries to reform the lines to push the Janissaries forward, shield to shield. But the ravine is too narrow. The columns cannot spread, cannot turn, cannot breathe. At the bottom of the gorge, a small group of Albanian horsemen appears. They show themselves for only a few seconds, release a few arrows, then retreat in faint panic. Hamza believes he sees an opening. He thinks the enemy is pulling back. He orders a charge. The Janissaries surge forward, heavy-footed, spears lowered. They round a bend, and suddenly the ground disappears beneath them. Deep pits, dug during the night and covered with branches, open under their feet. Men and horses crash into them by the dozens, in a chaos of screams, metal, and blood. Those who survive try to retreat, but behind them the column keeps pushing. Ranks mix, break, collapse. That is when the Albanian horsemen return. This time, they do not flee. They pour down the slopes on both flanks of the valley, sabers raised, shouting Skanderbeg's name. The impact is brutal. The first Ottoman ranks are smashed from the side. Men fall, horses topple. The noise is overwhelming. On the opposite slope, another wave descends. Cavalry, infantry, slingers. Everything Skanderbeg has kept in reserve. The valley becomes a pit of dust and fire. They fight at arm's length. Faces vanish in the smoke. Men strike at whatever moves. They slip on mud, on blood, on bodies. Hamza tries to gather his men. He rallies the remaining Janissaries, tries to open a path to the north. For a moment, it seems he might succeed. A green banner rises briefly in the swirling mist. But from the heights, Skanderbeg is not finished. He unleashes his final reserve. More riders, more arrows, more stones thundering down the slopes. The circle tightens. Daylight fades. The sky turns red, then gray. Rain begins to fall. Thin, cold, mixing with the smoke of weapons. Both armies continue fighting. Exhausted, soaked, almost blind. Skanderbeg pushes forward through the valley. Hamza still fights among his men. No one yields. Night finally falls over Albañia, and in the darkness, the clash of steel continues. The battle is not over. Night has fallen over the valley. A fine rain keeps falling without end, mixed with smoke, sweat, and blood. The wind blows whistling between the rocks. Nothing can be seen anymore. Only flashes of steel in the darkness. Both armies grope blindly for each other. Cries fade, orders blur. Torches die out in the mud. The battle becomes a whisper, a collective groan of pain and fear. In the heart of this night, Skanderbeg does not sleep. Under the rain, he moves forward slowly, his cloak stuck to his armor, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. Around him, his officers wait for a signal. He alone knows that dawn will decide everything. Not yet, he murmurs, when they are exhausted, when they believe the night protects them. Within the Ottoman lines, Hamza gathers what remains of his men. Half of his army is gone. The rest are scattered, lost in the valley, without commander, without fire, without hope. Water streams down their faces. Cold bites into their bones. Hamza stares into the darkness ahead. He sees nothing, but he feels eyes watching him. He knows this land. He realizes he has underestimated the man he fights, but he still refuses to yield. He swears he will escape this trap before morning. Around midnight, an eerie silence falls over the valley. Even the rain stops for a moment. Then suddenly a sharp sound pierces the darkness. A horn. 1, then 10, then 100. The Albanians attack. From every side they charge down the slopes with torches blazing. Fire glints on wet steel. The entire mountain seems to ignite. The Ottomans scream, fumbling for their weapons. But the flames blind them. Panic erupts. Horses rear, crashing into their own ranks. The Janissaries try to hold, but their lines crumble under the shock. Skanderbeg bursts into the wavering light. His sword cuts through the rain. His shout rises above the thunder. Around him, Albanian riders scream his name. Their assault is lightning, unstoppable. Hamza attempts one final move. He orders a breakout toward the south. His officers follow, but their horses sink into the mud. Arrows fall again. Flames swallow tents, banners, bodies. Then he understands. Everything is lost. He casts one last look toward the mountain, as if toward a silent god, and signals the retreat. But it is too late. The gorge is sealed. The trap has closed completely. The rain intensifies. Torches die one by one. The screams fade, then disappear. When dawn arrives, the valley of Albañia is covered in mist and silence. The floodwaters of the night have carried away the bodies. Crows already circle above the hills. Skanderbeg dismounts. He walks slowly over the wet earth, looks around, and says nothing. His sword is heavy. His heart is too. Around him, his men watch without speaking. They know what this victory has cost, and they know it has saved their homeland. The sun rises pale, making the water on the stones glisten. The black flag with the double-headed eagle flutters in the wind. Albañia belongs to Albania. The next day, the rain has stopped. The valley of Albañia is silent. No cries, no drums. Only the wind and the sound of footsteps sinking into the mud. Crows circle slowly above the pines. The stream runs red. Abandoned helmets shine in the morning sun like pieces of shattered silver. Skanderbeg stands motionless. His gaze crosses the valley without joy. Around him, the survivors gather the wounded, close the eyes of the dead, and dig graves in the soaked earth. No one speaks. Victory tastes like silence. But beyond the mountains, rumor travels faster than the wind. They speak of a miracle in the Balkans. A man who, with 8,000 soldiers, has destroyed 40,000 of the Sultan's warriors. Messengers reach Venice, then Naples, then Rome. The bells ring. The priests pray. Poets write his name on pages still wet with tears. Across Europe, they call him the shield of Christendom, the Lion of Albania, the man who stood against an empire. But in Constantinople, the news falls into marble silence. The viziers lower their eyes. The Sultan says nothing. In his gardens, he walks for a long time, alone, between roses and drifting dust. The defeat does not break his empire, but it leaves a scar. And somewhere, in the memory of kings, the name Albañia becomes a warning. Meanwhile, in the mountains, Skanderbeg watches the sky clear. The wind carries away the smoke. The sunlight returns to the wet stones. He knows nothing is over. War will come back again and again, until he has no breath left. But for a moment, the world seems to hold its breath with him. An entire army lies still at his feet. And Europe, though it does not know it yet, has just been saved in the silence of a valley.